Hey everyone, it's been a minute, but welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a bonus episode from Long Story Short, the podcast. I'm Megan.
I'm Wendy.
And today we are going to be discussing You Had Me at Aloha, the very first in Hallmark's Summer Nights series. As you know, this is a bonus episode of the podcast, which means we put out a regular episode of our podcast every single week on Tuesday. And this week we talked all about hobbies. We talked about how much we hate the question, what do you do for fun? But then we also talked about the hobbies that we have, how we make time for them, and why we think it's important to find a hobby and stick to it. And no, it has nothing to do with like productivity. So we would love it if you would give that episode a listen. If you want more from us outside of the podcast, you know where you can find us. Instagram, Megan and Wendy LSS. And on our Facebook group, Long Story Shorties.
You can also email us at meganandwendy@gmail.com. We haven't had any Hallmark emails recently just because we haven't had any Hallmark movies to review. Are you excited about the return of Summer Nights?
Well, I'm really excited to hear what people think about these movies. Please let us know which one of us you agree with, because
well, this is funny because obviously I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with like the Hallmark schedule. You know, I know there's Christmas and then there's New Year's, new stuff. And then what did we have? Like Valentine's Day, spring, and now here we are at Summer Nights.
Right.
Which is, exciting. But I did see them promoting Christmas in July. Is that when they're going to be re-showing Christmas movies throughout the month of July?
Yes, and there is one new movie dropping as well. That's Christmas movie dropping.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That is so crazy to me. So now I wonder for like the huge Hallmark movie fans, like, now we're in the second part of the year. We're just chugging closer to the Christmas movies. Is everybody excited? They must be, right?
I would imagine. I think Christmas in July is a smart idea. It gives them a little bit of a break from producing new content, although they do have one new movie, but then they can that's where they get their base. I think they have a much bigger Christmas base. I know I typically did not watch year-round Hallmark movies, certainly not regularly until this year, but I always came back for Christmas. So I think that's their bread and butter. Of course, there is a fall series of movies as well. Never fear. But this is our big summer chunk right here. Do you have a synopsis of this movie, Wendy?
Oh, gosh, I'm out of habit here. I'm out of my routine. Let me pull it up for you. Okay, here's the synopsis. When the host of a popular travel show resigns, the network enlists Paige to step in for the next season set in Hawaii. Unbeknownst to her, is that how you say that? Unbeknownst?
Oh, you said it right the first time.
All right. Beknownst to her. They have also hired Ben, who likes to push everything to the extreme. As these two co-hosts clash over their opposing ideas for production, they grapple with the fact that not only do they need each other to further their careers, but they also balance each other out on and off screen. Starring two people I've never seen before, Pascal Hutton and Kevin Smith. And I know I'm butchering those names, but I have no idea how to pronounce them.
I think you did just fine.
Kevin, Kavan, Kevin?
That's what I would say, Kevin Smith.
And Pascal, Pascale, Pascal?
Yep.
All right.
News and notes.
Hit me with your news and notes, Megan.
This was filmed on location in Oahu, Hawaii. The resort that we see is the Kahala Resort, but they also use locations like Kahana Bay Beach and Waimea Falls.
Somebody got really lucky with on location in Hawaii versus, Canada. Which
Indeed.
No shade towards Canada. I would love to go there, but I mean, Hawaii is a beautiful tropical location. That's like a vacation, Yeah,
and they weren't there in the dead of winter like some of these movies were filmed, in freezing cold Canada.
Exactly. So I found some news and notes that this movie was initially called Next Destinations. I think it's a little too close to Final Destination.
Oh, excellent point. Excellent point.
Next Destinations. That has something to do with like their sign off, right? Or like the name of their show.
Yeah. Yeah. I like sometimes I don't understand the name changes. I think in this case, the name change was a good choice.
I think it's awful, to be quite honest. It is only like, you agree it's awful, right?
You Had Me at Aloha or the original name?
You Had Me at Aloha.
No, I like the new name.
It has nothing to do with the movie, though, other than it takes place in Hawaii.
Yeah, well, Next Destinations is boring.
I agree.
It's not like the Jerry Maguire You Had Me at Hello situation where obviously they're like immediately in love, but
I didn't even
it's a catchy title.
The connection between You Had Me at Hello. God, I love that Jerry Maguire movie.
Me too.
Do you have any other news and notes? Because I don't.
Pascal Hutton and Kevin Smith play a married couple in When Calls the Heart.
Oh, so they work together a lot, huh?
Yes, and they were also in the movie The Perfect Bride together. Pascal Hutton ticks the was once on the show Once Upon a Time box that a number of our Hallmark movie actors and actresses tick.
That's bananas weird to me.
And Kevin Smith was in the show The 4400, which I only mentioned because my husband and I loved that show. You would hate it. It's science fiction, but if you loved that show, give us a shout out. It's about, I think the storyline is they were abducted by aliens.
No, I have a question. I wonder if it's the same producing or casting company or casting agent who casted Once Upon a Time and who does Hallmark movies. Do you think there's some connection there?
You know, that is possible. What I think is at play here is Once Upon a Time has a huge cast of supporting actors and actresses because they work their way through so many Disney and fairy tale characters. So, you know, some of these people play a major role, like Snow White and Prince Charming, and some just make a quick cameo. So, you know, you need Peter Pan's Lost Boys, and you need dwarves, and there are so many supporting characters that I think at some point, if you are an actor or an actress who plays supporting roles, you're probably going to get called up.
Interesting. Now that show is off the air, right? It doesn't exist anymore?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I never saw it. That's just not for me. What are your first impressions about You Had Me at Aloha?
I had such high hopes for this movie. It's been a while. We had a couple standalone movies. One was great. One was terrible. I was really excited for summer movies. I'm in the mood for summer. This did not hit for me.
That is sad to hear. Let me just preface this with saying that I really only paid attention to about 60% of the movie, but I really liked it. I liked the end especially, but I think it's because like I want to be in the Hawaii bubble. You know what I mean? Like I love that spirit of aloha. And so they got me there. But isn't that one of your biggest gripes is that like don't make the location a character in the movie?
Indeed. In fact, in one of the categories that we will discuss later, I wrote, don't rely so heavily on Hawaii as a plot point. I thought the movie only really moves in the first and last 15 minutes.
Yeah. But that was the premise. They are doing like a travel show. So of course it has to be about the location they're in, right?
Yes, but I read a review on IMDb that said essentially they should have made a reality show about Hawaii showing off all of these locations because I understand what you're saying. Like, I think that this movie benefits from having a beautiful location. It benefits from, hey, look, a sunset cruise, beautiful. Ziplining, beautiful. Snorkeling, beautiful. These things are all fun to look at. But there was no story for that. Did I want to watch a documentary about things to do in Hawaii? Not really.
Yeah, I hear you. So speaking of IMDb, I always look over there because I love it. I think it's just a treasure trove of funny things. This movie got rated 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, which shocked me. That's a pretty high number for an IMDb. But when I was going through the reviews, the top part of the reviews were like So terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, so stupid. This paint by numbers movie is dull. Could not finish watching. Not the usual Hallmark quality. And then at the very bottom, really great reviews. Great fun in the Hawaii bubble. Very enjoyable. Fun rom-com and gorgeous scenery. Always the best Hallmark production. And I was like, did somebody pay for these reviews? Because it was just so... The difference between the two was so... crazy.
Right.
But with that said, I liked it.
I'm shocked.
I'm sorry.
I'm shocked. It took 4 different sittings for me to get through this entire movie.
Oh my God. I watched it on Sunday night. Like, turned it on the TV and hung out and watched it.
Well, tell me what you liked about this movie.
Okay, well, I got a big list.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the Hawaiian landscape.
Of course.
I love Hawaii. It's like one of my most favorite places on earth. I just love it so much. It gave me all the Hawaiian vibes, like the Hawaiian music in the background. I love Hawaiian music. I'm going there later this month, so it made me very excited to be there. That aside, I really liked the 2 leads. I thought they had amazing natural chemistry. Now, oh my gosh. Okay. It makes sense to me because they work together all the time, obviously, so they're very comfortable with each other, but I thought they had, like, a cute, fun, amazing, like, vibe together. I liked it. I cared about the future of their working relationship, especially when, was it Todd? Is that his name? When he, like, came back and it was going to disrupt their hosting gig or whatever. And then I was really concerned about Paige's future. She pitched them a show, blah, blah, blah. Like, what is she going to do next? I really related to Paige's character. She's very,
yes. I related to her deeply.
Yeah. No, for real, right?
Yes. I wrote I could deeply relate to Paige being a wet blanket.
Oh, I didn't think she was a wet blanket. It's at the end when she was like, I'm tired of, like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was like, I'm tired of being afraid or being, in control or whatever. I just could relate to it. I didn't think she was a wet blanket, except for, like, at the beginning when she was like, I need structure and don't go off the script and rah.
Well, that is when I could relate to her feeling like, hey, we have a schedule to keep. Even if your ideas are better, it is still frustrating to me when you come in and try and change things on the fly. Like, I was planning to be on this beach in a dress, and now I got to put on a bathing suit and get in the water. I could deeply relate to that being frustrating and him constantly wanting to change plans and her feeling that that was annoying.
Well, side note here.
Yeah.
I felt very much that their working relationship was a lot like ours.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Only because, like, I think you kind of like a scripted sort of, like, this is the way we're going to do it. And I'm always like, I hate that way. Let's just roll with it. So I just thought it was funny. I mean, it eventually worked for them, and I think it works for us. So I just thought that was funny. I really liked at the very end how they jumped ahead in time and they were on their new adventure, which made me think like they had a YouTube channel. They didn't have like a legit project they were working on. But wait, was that supposed to be her show? Did her show get picked up?
Okay. I have that question as well, and I don't know if that was answered. I don't know if it was clear. Is this an official show? I thought the same thing. Is this something that they're producing on their own? Like you said, like a YouTube channel? And then my brain went to like, how is this working? How are they making money? How could this be a full-time job for them? But yes, I don't have the answer, but I also wondered as well, what is actually happening here? But I did like that it showed that they were working together again.
Right. And then they had their smooch, and it was like, I like that it was set in forward time. It wasn't like, oh, he found her on the beach after she tried to get on the flight to Australia, which really? And then, it had their kiss there. Like, I liked it. Okay, tell me, if anything, what did you like?
We've kind of covered it all. Agree that the Hawaiian backdrop was beautiful. It added a lot to this movie. Again, I felt a strong kinship with Paige, and I really liked Millie and Luis. I was more invested in them and would have liked them to have a romantic storyline.
What?
I enjoyed.
There was no, like, romantic vibes between them, though. Was there? Not
No,
that
it was more of a buddy vibe, but I liked both of them more than I liked Paige and Ben.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, that's what was good about this movie is that each lead character had somebody to, like, bounce ideas off of or, like, vent to or whatever. Because that's what I hate about movies, when they don't have, like, a secondary character that they can confide in. So I did like these. I did like Millie and Louise as well. I liked them. They were good.
What did you wish for?
Well, when the movie started, I thought, oh God, this is the I hate you, you hate me template. And I hate that. Like, I wish writers would give men and women more credit in terms of developing a relationship. And or figure out better ways to create tension between two people. That's not like, I hate you, you annoy me. You know, I'm just tired of that. I know it's a Hallmark thing, right? Like, that's what I've learned over the last 8 months that we've done this, is like, that's what you're going to get from a Hallmark movie. But I just want more from it. I expect more from writers to come up with something.
Yeah.
Better. And that's it. That's all I wish for from it, if you can believe that.
I mentioned my wish earlier, you know, that Hawaii was not leaned on so heavily as a plot point. I do feel like the majority of this movie happens in the first 15 and last 15 minutes, and the center of the movie is really just a Hawaii infomercial, which is not unpleasant to watch, but doesn't really drive the movie forward, in my opinion. And I did read some criticism that, you know, they went to a place with its own culture and it was really whitewashed, and they only used the locals and the local culture as a backdrop as opposed to using them in a prominent role in the movie. And that's not something I would have necessarily come up with on my own, but I do think that's an interesting point when you're going to a place that has its own culture and has its own local people. How do you balance that without it being kind of like tourism porn?
Right. That's a really good point. I like that too. But I wonder, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Did COVID factor into that?
I will say that the article did mention that. They said, look, why they understand that there's pandemic restrictions. And then their comment was, maybe that's not an excuse we can use. Like, if the pandemic is creating a problematic situation, maybe this is not a movie you make when you have to follow COVID protocol.
Nah.
So I agree with both points. I'll send you a link to that article I read if people want. So people can see the original source. Again, this was not my idea, but I did find it worth noting and interesting as soon as I read it.
Yeah, definitely.
How about did you see that?
I only have 2 things.
Okay.
Like I told you, I only watched it like at 60% attention. Do you scroll through your phone while these movies are on?
Always.
Yeah, me too. I liked that it had, or this is not a like, did you see that there was a song by the Flock of Seagulls that played? I Will Run. I think it's called I Will Run. Is that it?
And I ran.
Am I just using the wrong, is it ran
Verb
or
tense?
run? Verb tense, yeah. It's called I Ran So Far Away.
Okay, okay, there we go.
Anyway, it played a Flock of Seagull songs. It was when they went on that Jeep and they were riding around in the Jeep. Anyway, I just thought, like, I love that these Hallmark movies sometimes feature like real life songs in them. And this was like a throwback 80s song, which I thought was so interesting, but I enjoyed that. The other thing, did you see that? The first thing I thought of when I saw the character Ben, he's a Bobo Zac Efron. He looks just like him, right? But a Bobo version.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't make that connection, but I mean, like, Zac Efron's dad, let's be real.
Okay, all right. That's totally fair. Totally fair. What'd you see?
That cabana sucked.
I don't even remember a cabana.
He goes, I'll get us a cabana. And they're literally sitting on a beach with 2 crappy lounge chairs. And I was like, no, the whole appeal of a cabana is you have comfy lounge chairs and you have like a nice setup. I mean, they had shade, but I was judging their cabana. Look, I'm just
Was it like
saying.
a pop-up tent? I don't even remember.
It was basically, I mean, I think it was like ever so slightly nicer than a pop-up tent, but there's no like pretty curtains. There was no nice lounge chair. They're in a resort that, you know, they could have could have commandeered something a little bit nicer is all I'm saying.
Totally, because they did film this at an actual resort. So,
Indeed.
like, why didn't they just use one? I'm sure the hotel had one. But
Right.
COVID, maybe. I don't know. Whatever.
Right, and they were on the beach, and maybe it was easier to cordon off a filming space on the beach. They were never really at the pool, which I could see why it would be harder to take up pool space than beach space.
Mm-hmm. They only showed the pool and then her, like, walking by it, but never, like, actually at the pool or in the pool, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
During the 80s trivia montage, we got a bunch of answers and no questions until we got to the final question. I would have liked, again, this should have been a wish, but this is a did you see that? Why could we not get the actual questions? It is not that hard to come up with 3 or 4 80s trivia questions via Google.
Mm-hmm.
I would have enjoyed that 2 minutes there and maybe taking 2 minutes from some Hawaii montage scenes is all I'm saying.
Okay. God, you're such a Hawaii hater.
I love Hawaii, but if you're going to give me an
joking.
80s trivia segment, give me some actual 80s trivia. The trophy that they won was the worst trophy ever.
See, these are I don't even know what you're talking about, and I watched this movie. I don't even remember these things.
I don't understand. It was a terrible trophy. I'd like to talk about the goats.
Okay.
I don't really know what segment this belonged in. I put it in. Look, she's so melodramatic about the goat situation. So you became an internet meme. My goodness, this did not ruin your career. And then when she tells the story, she goes, the goats were my idea. As if somebody died. As if her mistake with running away from the goats led to some tragic event. Okay, yes, there was some financial consequence. I do not believe that this goat incident was the career-ruining moment that you've made it out to be. And then when the trivia guy's like, you're the goat lady, and then she runs away, as opposed to just, like, leaning into, like, oh, yeah, like, at some point, you gotta lean into the joke.
Yeah, I hear you. Just need better writers for these movies.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, we needed a better career pause moment.
Yeah, make her, like, crap her pants on camera or something like that is something to be embarrassed about, not like running away from a goat because you're afraid of a goat or whatever, right?
Goats are just funny. They're not, it's not the dramatic moment that you want me to believe it is.
Have the goat eat her dress off and then she's standing there naked. That's funny. Yeah. That's something to be mortified
what I thought was
about.
Going to happen. That they were going to. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Let's write a movie.
Waimea Falls. Have you been there?
No, I've never been to Oahu before.
So I've been to Waimea Falls. You do hike there in quotation marks. It's fully paved. It's fully paved. You're not hacking through the jungle.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that because when they showed like an aerial shot of that, I was like, it's fully paved. I was like, that's convenient, but maybe, I mean, obviously that's what it is in real life. So
yeah, they show scenes of them like bushwhacking. Yeah. I can guarantee you every single person that was with us was wearing flip-flops and it was fine.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
And my last did you see that is I would love to have been in wardrobe to see the array of floral dresses that they found for this woman because it was one floral dress after another. I liked her dresses, but I mean, they leaned hard into the floral dress motif.
I liked her dresses a lot.
I did too, but it was a lot of floral dresses. Like not a single pair of shorts, not one. Anyway.
Yeah. I noticed she always wore like a very bright lip too, which is so un-Hawaii to me. Like, I don't know, put a gloss on, lady.
And that's it for me. And did you see that? What did you rate this movie?
I gave it 3 stars.
Oh my gosh, I gave it 2.
I thought it was super enjoyable.
Has this ever happened?
I don't think so.
I liked the movie less than you did.
I think my expectations are so low at this point that like I was a little bit surprised that I enjoyed it. And maybe it's just the space and time that I am at right now because I'm going there soon. So,
yes.
You know.
Yes, I could see that. Got you excited for your vacation.
Talk to me in January if I watch this movie. I would probably hate it.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
Perhaps.
All right.
Friends, did you watch You Had Me at Aloha? Are you watching the non-Christmas Hallmark movies? I know we have lots of listeners who are not even Hallmark movie fans who continue to listen to this podcast. If you watch this, I would love to know your thoughts on this movie. Which one of us? Where did you fall? We always want to know your feedback. And don't forget, we'll be back next week on Tuesday. We're talking about simple summer routines. And of course, we'll be back on Thursday to talk about The Baker's Son.
I'm not looking forward to that one, to be honest. And it kept saying, like, on the island of, there's somewhere remote. I don't know. I'm just not into it. There's like a TV show with a similar name, isn't there? The Baker's. Somebody email us. I know somebody watches it. It's new on Netflix. I can't remember the name of the show.
Oh, The Baker and the Beauty.
Yeah.
Come back for that. As always, let us know your thoughts on these movies, Megan and Wendy at gmail.com. And if you haven't left a rating or review, we would love it if you would do so. You can visit meganandwendy.com/Apple Podcast to do so. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.